All right, my friends, the winter storms are upon us, and it is time to get back inside and play some video games. And I thought it was also a great time to do another First 5 segment. I did a bunch of these on other consoles and devices before, but it's time to talk about the Oculus Quest. This is an amazing wireless machine, so you don't need to be plugged into anything in order to lose yourself in all kinds of great VR experiences. And there are a bunch of cool games on here. There are more than 5 games to play on the Oculus Quest, by the way. But I'm going to give you the first 5 that I would pick up, with maybe a few runners-up as well. Number 5 would be Path of the Warrior, and this is made by Twisted Pixel, who's got a couple of different VR experiences under their belt now. This is not a massive game, and it isn't, maybe the best combat game, but what it is an unbridled homage to games like Final Fight and, of course, Streets of Rage. You are actually in Rage City, and you're beating up all kinds of goons, all kinds of bad guys. You're fighting through kitchens and bars and throwing bad guys into all kinds of obstructions, giving them uppercuts and picking them up and throwing them into fans or throwing them into jukeboxes. You can also do cool things like activate special attacks by flicking through some options on your virtual watch, and then bam, you'll punch somebody and they'll sort of disappear in flame or something like that. It is a game that will make you laugh. It's also repetitive, but a lot of the beat 'em ups that this game is sort of tipping its hat to were also incredibly repetitive. And Path of the Warrior is an Oculus published game, so it's out there also for the Rift machines as well. I preferred playing it on the Quest, though, without the tether, being able to kind of look around in any direction. Much more fun that way. It's just crazy fun, and it's inventive, and who hasn't wanted to be in a first-person kind of perspective in one of those old classic 16-bit beat-em-ups? When I played this game, I was laughing, and I was kind of cheering because I love the imagination and just the sense of silliness and fun that this game provides. It's not the meatiest game that you're going to play, but it's super fun, and one thing that I do know is that I think it's got enough of a following right now that Twisted Pixel is continuing to add new content to it. That's why it gets my recommendation. Coming in at number 5 is Path of the Warrior. Number 4 is Vader Immortal, and this is from Lucasfilm's ILM X Labs in partnership with Oculus, which is another Oculus published game. It's also available for the Rift machines as well, and it's going to look a little bit better if you play this on the original Rift or the Rift S than it does on the Quest, but the Quest still looks great. It's still very playable. It puts you into the boots of a Jedi Knight, and you get to wield a lightsaber. You get to go into these cool lightsaber dojos and sort of test your skills against all kinds of troopers and robots, and it's super fun. But there is also a meaty story. You have a robot companion that's voiced by Maya Rudolph.
Ah! Oh. Well, look at it this way. One less TIE fighter to worry about.
Get to go through Mustafar, and you get to encounter all kinds of stormtroopers and other baddies and giant creatures, and you use the force powers that you have, and you also, uncover some mysteries about Darth Vader. It's a very evocative, very cool story. We're deep into Star Wars lore with this game, and I really want to see a lot more VR stuff from the Star Wars universe. It is just, it's more than 40 years of lore that they can dive into to create lots of cool VR experiences with Star Wars. This is a good sort of taste of it, but I want a lot more, and I think we get more if we show support to games like this. And it's also done very well. You can tell that it was crafted with love and that there was a real sense of trying to make this a movie-like experience. It's not the meatiest video game. And, one of the things that I said when I reviewed Episode 3, I just played Jedi Fallen Order. This is not Jedi Fallen Order. It's swinging the lightsaber around. It's sort of knowing where to position stuff. Still, it's super fun, and it should be experienced. So it gets a big thumbs up, and it's number 4 on my list. Number 3 on my list is Moss. This is a game developed by Polyarch. Beautiful adventure game where it really feels like you're opening the pages of a fairy tale book that comes to life. You are in control of this little mouse, and you have to navigate through all of these fantasy-fueled environments and solve all of these cool environmental puzzles. You also are a creature inside of the world, so you can actually lift up things and interact with different objects to help your little Moss character along the way. away and deal with the enemies that will confront Moss, but also with all of these different obstructions that impede your progress. It is a wonderful game, and there's been a little bit more added to the experience as well as time has gone on. You can get this game also for PlayStation VR, and you can play it on the Rift. I think you can play this on every VR device out there. I remember beating it. I played it first on the PlayStation VR, and I just wanted to stay in the world. I just thought it was just absolutely beautiful, and it runs perfectly on the Quest. You're not taking any kind of hit or anything like that, and I really hope we get a lot more from this world. I hope Polyarc is working on sequels. I would almost like to see something like what has happened with Lucky's Tale, how that moved from the Oculus Rift to the Xbox One and also now the Nintendo Switch. I would love to see Moss kind of extend out of virtual reality, but of course I want many more virtual reality experiences with Moss as well. It is a beautiful game, and it's also one of those games where you can sit anybody down with it and they will get a full understanding of why you spent the money on this fantastic VR device. At number 3 is Moss. Now, number 2 is a game that won our VR Game of 2019 award in the Rocket and Ray Guns. It's Pistol Whip from Cloudhead Games, made not too far away from here, actually, on Vancouver Island, which I think is it's over that way. This is truly an amazing game, and it puts you into the shoes of an assassin who can deal with all kinds of oncoming danger, not unlike John Wick, which I'm sure was an inspiration for this title. It's a rhythm-based game, and there are sort of combat mechanics as well. You're not just shooting at everything. You can actually, as the name implies, pistol whip different bad guys, and you've got characters shooting at you and popping out at you. It's almost like you're, in a theme park ride as you're being carted along, and all kinds of scares are jumping out at you. But you've got some pretty badass weaponry and some pretty serious skills where you can see the bullets kind of fly. It's almost bullet time-like, so you have time to kind of get out of the way or dodge a wall or bounce, and this is how you play the game. You're sliding and flying all over the place. Meanwhile, you're popping off all the bad guys as you're cruising, and it's all of this funky music that's making you kind of boogie and shake. From the grave. They did something incredible with the visuals here too. Rather than kind of super clearly define every single character that's coming at you, it's almost like a shadowy shimmer where they're kind of shaking a little bit, which gives the game a little bit of freedom to not be pixel precise, and a little bit of forgiveness is sort of built into the design of it, which makes you feel like a supreme badass, and it also, makes the game run beautifully on the Quest. Now, this game is available for everything as well in VR, but on the Quest, it's perfect because every once in a while in this game, you're going to miss one of these characters that's coming at you in 3D, and you'll be able to turn around easily and pop them off before you sort of disappear to the next section of the game. It's intense. It is a game that's unbelievably challenging with cool rewards, like the ability to modify and get 2 weapons at a time, or to change the gun, and it feels different. I can't believe how fun this game is. It is tight design. It's not overly ambitious. It isn't about sort of interacting with every object in the world. It's got a very specific goal for you to achieve, and every single time, it is a great time. The same, I think, can be said for the number 1 spot on my list here, and that is Beat Saber. This is a game that has been bandied about in the VR world for a long time, and likely whatever VR device you have, you own Beat Saber, as you should. This is a game that also allows you to swing a lightsaber around, 2 of them as a matter of fact, although they don't call them lightsabers. And you get to swing at all of these different objects that are flying at you to incredible music. There's new music packs that you can keep buying once you learn all the music that comes bundled with the game. And it is so addictive and so fun, and you feel like such a champion if you can beat these levels and these music tracks as they get harder and more complicated, and you're doing all kinds of acrobatics to swing and hit everything in time. It's also another one of these perfect games. You can play it in short bursts and you can have a wonderful time. It's actually a pretty tremendous workout. It's pretty good exercise, so you feel like, okay, I got my cardio in when I played my video game here. This is the game that you definitely want to have on the Quest when you have friends over. And honestly, that's one of the best things about the Quest, is that there's no bullshit about it. You just put it on somebody's head and they're playing Quest games easily. They're playing VR titles and they're jumping in and they're bouncing around and they're experiencing what VR really is without any obstacles. And it's super fun. But this is the game. This is the showcase game that you start people off with. And then you go to Pistol Whip. It's almost like this list is the perfect on-ramp to VR experiences. Not only are all 5 of these games excellent games, but they're very easy to share. And I applaud that very much because VR is still in its infancy. We've heard the term for decades, and we've seen different kinds of attempts at this, but the Quest is such a magical, meaningful step forward for virtual reality because of its wireless, high fidelity. It is terrific. It's a great launch device.
Time for one final lesson.
These are the first 5 games that I would pick up for the Quest, but there's a couple of others that I definitely would recommend, and that's Superhot VR, which expands on the idea, and some of the ideas sort of introduced by Pistol Whip. It's not like these things are always streaming at you, but there's a lot more strategy involved. It's a very, very tight game where time is sort of mixed into the gunplay. Every move you make is countered by the enemy moves, and every shot that comes at you is something that you can kind of counter and deal with. The enemies come from all around you, which is a perfect fit on the Oculus Quest. Robo Recall Unplugged is an Epic Games developed title. Robo Recall is one of the VR classics. It's been around on all the platforms. But on the Quest, it's great because you can be surrounded by all of these different robots, and you got to plug them and shoot them before they get to you, and there's lots of different bad guys that you can pick up and hurl at other things. It's a super fun and fast and crazy arcade shooter experience, and there's quite a few of those in VR, I do have to say, and that's kind of why I didn't add these 2 games to the list, is that there's a lot of shooter type experiences. There's a similarity to the way that these games kind of play, but Superhot VR and Robo Recall Unplugged are 2 standout shooter experiences. Another game that I also dig for the Quest is a title called End Space, which is kind of a light space shooter experience where you're in the cockpit of your own spaceship and you're flying around in 3D space. I would still like that to be a Star Wars X-Wing VR experience, so please get on that, ILM X Labs. That's my favorite kind of experience so far, is to fly around in 3D space in a spaceship, and the Quest could certainly use a lot more of those types of titles.
Good riddance. Won't miss that guy.
But still, the Quest is an incredible device, and my first 5 games for it would be Path of the Warrior, Vader Immortal, Moss, Pistol Whip, and Beat Saber. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. Play forever.